PW Hustle Networks present PWR at the Movies. Join the Professor, Tommy Wonder, and JB as they discuss the greatest pro wrestling moments in movie history.
Gentlemen, it is time for the main event! First the challengers! Those fierce freaks of the forest, the hoods of the woods, the brothers of Bash, the Bushwhackers! Champions, the demented demons of destruction, the Psycho Twins!
We'll give you a victory massage.
It's time to do the Urkel. Now, if you want to do the Steve Urkel dance, all you have to do is hitch up your pants, bend your knees, and stick out your pelvis. I'm telling you, baby, it's better than Elvis.
What is going on there to the American Reflection Knights? What is going on there to the USA Vetoites? What is going on there to the Aussie probationary PWCites? What is going on there to the independents, the conservatives, the liberals, and all points in between? You know who you are. And no, I'm not gloating. No, I'm not celebrating. No, I'm not making fun of people. I'm just doing what I do best because I'm the most objective man in this IWC, YWC, PWC punditry. When this episode drops, we have announced a president of the United States. And the 47th, stop with the fireworks, man. God damn you. Now I know you're gonna be masturbating with those fucking fireworks right now. For the next 4 years, Reflection Nights. But anyway, neither here nor there. The show must go on. But again, before my train of thought is messed up, before more fireworks comes, we have elected Donald J. Trump as the 47th president of the United States of America. And again, I can respect anybody's political ideologies, even though I still say y'all sheep for being so pro-ideologically speaking. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. Whatever gets you through the day. But I'll tell you this, we're in the 2020s, my friends, and we are entering the world of tribalism. And people might say, Professor, no, we've been in tribalism since the 2010s. Yes and no. In the 2010s, social media ramped up so we can see what side of the aisle you on, so we can see where we are, where we stand in views and viewpoints and all such in between. And we saw it almost 10 years ago in 2016. We saw it in 2020, and now we see it in 2024, and we'll see it in 2028. It doesn't matter. Tribalism wins. Division wins. They got y'all. Just like we do this wrestling podcast, they got y'all. You marks have fell for it. You think you're smart, but you're not smart. But neither here nor there. But anyway, I ain't talking politics. I'm here to make you escape from politics. I am here to give you the nostalgia that you love. So with that being said, welcome to the Pro Wrestling Reflection Podcast here at the High Media Group at Podbean.com. And welcome to the PWR at the Movies episode. I am your host, the effervescent one. I am the studious one. I am the manifestation one. But most importantly, I am the glorious one. The only objective man in this IWC, YWC, PWC country. The only objective man that didn't vote for Kamala and didn't vote for Donald J. Trump. I voted for Ron Paul, but again, neither here nor there. Your friend and mine, the Professor Chabert Cruz. And I'm not here alone to enjoy this movie edition, even though it was actually a television series. He's got the popcorn. He told me he's got the hookers coming. But I had to warn him. I said, I don't like Bangkok hookers because they got dicks. I want biological women. But TW keeps saying, Bangkok is where it's at. But neither here nor there. He is the conservative liberal. The liberal conservative. Dum-dum doing its own. The iron stomach one. And the man happy. Elated. And he's jumping for joy. I saw Fox News. I saw this man, a bald-headed white man with a beard, butt naked in the streets of Detroit with Donald J. Trump on his ass cheeks saying 47. I think that was him, but again, he'll let you know. Woo! Tommy Wonder, how you doing, my friend? Stop with the fireworks. Stop it. Did you stop it? You gotta talk. This is a podcast, man.
Had to break the real belt out of retirement from the wall.
Oh, okay.
Listen to me, man. Listen. So for the last 4 months, I've gotten told by the other side that this man fears democracy, doesn't like it. He's going to ruin democracy by the people who had him run against someone that didn't win a single primary to be the candidate. Because the guy they did vote for in the primary, they shoved him to the side and just gave her the job. But yeah, they're the Democratic ones. I also got to hear how he's not going to concede and he won't admit that he lost, blah, 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 blah. Yet at midnight last night, she went to bed and left her people standing there at the thing and sent him home through an aide and didn't come out until 4-something p.m. today to finally concede. So what's it like to be what you accuse other people of being? It's beautiful. But here's the best part. Just to show you what's going on. They looked of all the 50 states. Do you know how many she did better than Biden 4 years ago?
I didn't really keep up with the track.
0. Do you know how many she did equal to Biden?
0?
4 years ago. 0. She did worse than him in all 50 states. And you wonder, you have people all day long today, belly aching, sore losers, crying, double down on the insults and the fear mongering and telling people how horrible the next 4 years is going to be, like they didn't live the 4 years ago before these last 4 years, right? Newsflash for everybody. Spoiler alert. You're all going to be all right, just like we're all right after the 4 years we just went through with Biden. Are some things going to change? Absolutely. Big picture, is your life going to change? Nope. We're going to see this. We're going to be the same peons that we always are. The same people are going to make all the money. Pelosi, Schumer, McConnell. Please tell me how Bernie Sanders got reelected. Please tell me how Khalil got reelected. Please tell me how Kane got reelected. Didn't that guy lose with Gore 40 years ago? It's insane to me, these career politicians, and everyone's mad at the guy that's been doing it for the last 8 years. It's insane. These career politicians that are worth millions on $100,000 a year salary. It's insane. But to get mad at your fellow
it's not
people,
insane. It's the American
stupid.
dream. It's not insane. It's the American dream. That's
It's
what we all live for.
It's corruption. And the fact that these people, like you said, tribalism. Here, you always call me the conservative liberal, the liberal conservative. You know what I am? I am fiscally conservative, and I am socially liberal. There is not a person that knows me that wouldn't tell you that I would hang out with anybody anywhere until they give me a reason not to hang out with them. But the way they look, the way they act, the way they pray, the way they vote, none of that matters to me. What matters to me is the type of person they are, right? But the reason
I passed the test, right? I passed the test.
Yeah. Well, we're going to do it again another time. But the reason I would never be a libertarian, the reason I lean conservative, is I believe in a strong military, because that's what stops people from fucking around and finding out, is knowing we're a phone call away anywhere in the world to come there and handle shit, right? The idea is to not have to. And for 4 years ago, we didn't. And for the last 4 years, as our military was depleted and the dude with the wig was running one part and the other guy in the dress was running the other, all of a sudden wars are popping up all over again. And why is that? It's because our military isn't as strong as it was, and it's not all over the world like it was. Again, do I like that we have to do that? No. But that is the reason why we don't have wars, is because people know that if you don't start nothing, won't be nothing. And now that's why I'm not a libertarian. And so, but socially, I'm pro-choice. I don't care if you smoke weed. I don't care if you guys get married, you and whoever's in your DMs today. I don't care about none of that stuff. But what I do care about is you trying to make, not you, but the people that are all for that stuff, trying to make everybody that way. That's not how it works. We all have our own opinions and beliefs, and your opinions aren't right. My opinions aren't right. What they are our opinions, and that's it. And I believe at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. The only divide is how we get there. That's it. But don't be a sore loser. Don't call people names. Don't double down on the Nazi, fascist, garbage, deplorable. Don't, because you, in the end, you look bad. Because today, Professor, more people are happy about the results last night than aren't. And if you don't believe me, have you ever clicked on your state after an election?
No.
You know how they're blue when you win it, New Jersey and New York? Click on it. It's all red except for New York City, Albany, and one other city. The entire rest of I always thought New York was 100% everyone's voting liberal, right? I just assumed it.
No.
And now,
hold on. See, now I got to school you. I mean, remember, Giuliani, Republican mayor. Remember Pataki, Republican mayor of New York City.
No, I understand that. But that was after a really, really harsh period of bad crime because of the lax on crime. They hired the guy who was a police guy.
But again,
got delivered. But anyway, my point is, recently, thanks in part to you and Big Ray, I got to go to New York. I had been to Buffalo. I always thought that was a beautiful place, and I went there in the winter, and I fucking hate the winter. But I went to New York City. It rained damn near the entire time I was there, but I still had nothing but a good time. I told Ray, everybody I met in New York, everybody I met in Chicago earlier this year, everybody I met in Cleveland, everybody was awesome. They were welcoming. They were inviting. I had a great time in New York. I'm glad I went there. I went to Ground Zero. I got to go back because I didn't go to the Brooklyn Bridge. I can't believe you bastards didn't even recommend it. I was right under it at the Yankee Stadium, wasn't I?
No, you was not. You wasn't even near it.
Well, I got to come back. I got to see the Brooklyn Bridge. I got to see this fucking Statue of Liberty. I did see the Empire State Building.
Wait, let's just put a bow on it, okay? Because you know this is not a political podcast. I'm letting you vent. I'm letting you celebrate. But anyway,
we're all about the people, and that's what I'm telling people. We all love each other off of the internet.
That, and if as long as you don't know who you vote for, or your ideology, everybody's cool peoples. That's all.
The internet ruins that.
That's what it is.
The internet is the cause of most of our strife. It's a good thing. It's a good thing because we're doing this show right now because we know each other because of this. It's the strangers that don't get along with each other. It's just people just aren't.
And reflection nights. me and TW don't agree on everything ideologically too. We don't agree socially too. I remember TW and I, we went back and forth. And I think some people in your Facebook, but this was years ago, like they got into it because, you know, it almost seemed like we were contentious with each other, right? But we just know each other, and we can have those banters back and forth. It's
because
like,
we have respect for one another. That's why.
Absolutely. But that's the end of the day. TW got my back. I got his back. And you know what? Well, of course, for life. But also, you know, truth be told, Reflection, as for the 12 that ride strong, he's got Kamal's back because, of course, he's a.
You know, truth be told, my heart goes out to her because I watched her today and I talked to you about it. I didn't like some of the things she said in her concession because it didn't feel like a concession. She seems like she's a good human being, right? You know, The reason I feel bad for her is she was destroyed 4 years ago when she was running against Biden for the nomination. She was destroyed the entire 3.5 years as a vice president by not only the Republicans who didn't like the administration, and then also people blaming her on the liberal side for the border and everything like that. I'm pretty sure she's not the ultimate decision maker.
She was on an island to herself. I got you.
Yeah, she was the scapegoat, right?
Yeah,
and so
it is.
I saw her and she was fighting back tears. And my thing, I'll equate this to wrestling. When I told you I never liked Goldberg because I felt like he was in it for the paycheck, not for the love of it. I think that she's genuine. I think she actually is fighting for something bigger than herself, right? And to see her fight back tears like that, but still went out there stoically and faced the people and all that, I actually have a nice soft spot for her. And I don't like when people insult her for the sake of insult. You can criticize her job, you know, how she did her job, but criticizing her as a human being, not a fan of it. I didn't like it when they did it to Palin. I don't like it when they do it with her. Hillary, on the other hand, I think is Satan. So you can have at it free reign with her. I don't think she likes people at all.
Reflection nights, baby steps. You can't win them all. That's all it is. But anyway, neither here nor there.
Tulsi Gabbard. 4 years, I'm going to vote for her.
Again, she'll get 4% too. But anyway, let's get on with the show. This is the PWR at the Movies edition episode. And TW, we are going to go back to 1994, and we are going to do a episodic episode, if you will, Reflection Nights. Again, it's not a movie because, you know, I can't let TW like watch a 2-hour movie with wrestlers because sometimes the writing just sucks. Don't give a fireworks for what I'm saying right now, okay? We got to have rules. You cannot do fireworks unless I say something really glorious or the show is over.
I was just trying to figure out how to work it.
No, you don't. That's a lie right now. You already know how to work it. See, Reflection, I see he's a bold-faced liar. But anyway, we stop it. But anyway,
I agree with you.
But I don't need the thumbs up. Let me just do the show, okay? But we're going to do an episodic episode of a famous classic family comedy that was on ABC on Friday nights. This was a Friday night staple. This was a tradition. Like the Cosby's on a Thursday, on Friday nights, ABC's TGIF, 8 o'clock every Friday, you was glued to Family Matters. You was glued to Carl Winslow. You was glued to Steve Urkel. So we're going to do an episode of Family Matters. And this episode was season 4 with special guest stars, Luke and Butch, the Bushwhackers. So before we even get into the episode and all this stuff, of course, you know how we do the PWR at the Movies, TW. We got to talk about the business. We got to talk about the show and all that stuff. So let's first talk about the show Family Matters. Again, you and I, TGIF is right there. They have a staple of shows. I think it was Family Matters, Step by Step, and Perfect Strangers. I don't remember the exact order, but you know what I mean. Those were the shows. Those were the pillars of TGIF Fridays and stuff like that. But with Family Matters, we knew what Family Matters was supposed to be. It was supposed to be, let's say, the working middle class black family edition, because the Cosby's was upper middle class with a doctor and a lawyer. This one was a working middle class family where Carl Winslow was the sergeant who eventually became captain of the police department. Harriet Winslow, who was an elevator operator, then becomes a manager at a department store and all this stuff. So, but they were working class families and all that stuff. So it was a very positive showing of African American people in a positive light. So what say you, TW, about the impact of Family
You know
Matters?
what my favorite part of it was? I grew up in Detroit. Then by this time I live in Warren. It's literally a black neighborhood, then a white neighborhood. You know what my favorite thing about both the Cosby Show and Family Matters?
What's that?
For me, the white dude watching it, the white kid, they didn't come across as a black sitcom. They came across as a sitcom. That's it. It was like when I watched Sanford and Son, no part of me was watching and going, these are all black people except for Julio. But I just watched it and it was awesome. And I think I've talked about it here. After my first cruise last year, I started watching The Love Boat on the Paramount Network. Everything is so pure innocent.
Let me just say this, and then you can go on with just because I'm not gonna say I disagree with you. I understand coming from your angle as a white guy and all that stuff. I get what you're saying because what you see.
No, it's not even the white part.
No. But let me just say my thing.
I'm gonna elaborate better
because what I'm gonna say is this, because again, as a person of color, and I'm not trying to make this as a racial issue, but again, when you see your group, when you see your people on TV in a positive light. And again, the old joke is, I don't see my people as a junkie. I don't see my people as a pimp. I don't see my people as a gangster, because that's the only light that you saw people of color in Hollywood. So, as much as we say it's not about the race card, but we have to at least, amplify the Cosby's positive black, affiliation, a positive black influence on TV that people can aspire to be doctors and lawyers. It's a reality that you could do it. And again, with Family Matters, positive light that you can work to become a captain of the police department. You can work to become a manager at a department store and all that stuff. I just wanted to say that because, again, I know what you're saying, but again, from a standpoint of a person of color, to see ourselves like that is like, oh, I can do that, I can be that, and all that stuff. That's
exactly my point. That's exactly my point. You're gonna see that. I'm not. I just saw a sitcom on TV. It didn't come across as contrived to make you look better, right? And here's why. I tell people this all the time. Where I grew up in Detroit, if you're not from there, and I tell you that's where I grew up from, guess what the almost unanimous reaction is? Holy shit, you grew up there, right? But when you grow up there, Professor, you're not only seeing what they show on TV, you're seeing every part of it. So I knew the families like the Winslows. They didn't have no Cosbys in my neighborhood, but the same dynamic. You know what I mean? I knew the families that were just like my white family, but they just happened to be black. There were Filipinos in my neighborhood. Every now and again, Arabic people were in my neighborhood. It was a predominantly black neighborhood. But my point is, me and my black friends, who according to TV you're supposed to be afraid of, we knew where not to go in the neighborhood. And it wasn't the whole neighborhood. It was that house. It was that building. It was that alley. We knew where not to go. And that seemed to be the only thing they showed on TV were the bad areas. But where I grew up, I wouldn't change a thing about where I grew up because I knew better than to go to places that would have got me in trouble. My older brother and my younger brother, not so much. They spent most of their life in jail because they didn't stay away from that shit. But me and my friends, we did. And so when I watch this show, it just reminds me of people in my neighborhood, or it doesn't remind me of nothing. It's just funny. It's just a family on TV. I fucking love the Cosby Show. Yeah. I love the different world and living single. I watched all that shit, and never once did it cross my mind that it was something to put someone in a positive light, right? And now fast forward to today. What is every fucking TV show I see on Showtime or whatever? Ballers, not Ball, what's it? Power. And then some other version of Power, and this version of Power. And it all looks like it's Black Mafia. And then you got The Sopranos. Like every TV show has to be some kind of fucking stereotype, especially on AEW or AEW. That was a Freudian slip. Another AMC. But you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where is the shit like this? It's just a normal family living a normal life in the suburb or the city or wherever the fuck they are. It's refreshing to watch this show. I enjoyed every second of it. I fell asleep watching. We are
waiting for the positive lesbian man and two lesbian women who are adopting a Chinese baby who will be non-binary.
On your TV right now. Someone has that on right now.
No, but it's got to be on CBS at 8:00. But again, we haven't had that. We haven't reached that point yet. That's all I'm saying.
Dads, buddy. My two dads. Keep going.
But they weren't gay couples, man.
It was implied.
No, it wasn't.
Paul
Never
Reiser and
implied.
BJ and the Bear, they were banging.
No, they implied they ran a train on the girl. That's all they implied. But anyway.
Jack Tripper and the two girls. It was a throuple.
No, they implied they actually they hustled that he was gay. But again, that was a menage a trois that was supposed to happen. But anyway, let's get back to Family Matters. And again, this is a staple of American comedy, Reflection Nights. And with that being said, TW, we got to flip it to the special guests that were on this show. And that was Luke and Butch, the Bushwhackers.
And two other guys, too.
And what about the Cycle Twin?
Gene LaBelle.
Oh, God.
This is like the third thing we've reviewed with him in it. Dude, that's awesome.
You just a
Shane Taylor. Shane Taylor was in it until he drank the juicy juice and fell asleep.
That was not Shane. That was not Shane
Taylor.
No, it wasn't, man. This is 1994. Shane Taylor was probably 8 years old.
He's older than you think, man. He's older than you think.
He's probably 8 years old. But anyway, let me get
He was a little smaller on this episode than he is now.
You hear the cops coming, okay? I got to get back to my diatribe. But again, we got to talk about the special guests, the most important special guest of this episode, the Bushwhackers, Luke and Butch. And TW, you have an affinity for the Bushwhackers, or more so the sheep herders of that lore and history. But TW, it's kind of funny that in 1994, because we know the business of the WWE, we can say if it's universally number one in North America, but we know that in 1994 that WWE was having financial crisis. We know that WWE, Vince McMahon personally was going through the steroid trials and the ring boy scandals and all that stuff. The 90s was not kind to Vince McMahon, on that spectrum, if you will, Reflectionites. But Vince McMahon, he's loyal to his company. He's loyal to his baby, the WWE or the WWF. And this was his mantra because he worked so hard in the 80s to make WWE, those letters, well, WWF at the time, those letters, a lexicon of American culture. So it would behoove of Vince McMahon to not pawn off, but have his guys on
Ran out.
Yeah, he treated them like pimps and all that stuff. But anyway, neither here nor there. But he knew it was good business to put the Bushwhackers on Family Matters. He knew it was good business to put, his not all top stars, not the Hulk Hogan levels, but let's say the mid-carders, if you will, TW, to put them on the other sitcoms, if you will, because what he was trying to do is still brand the WWE. And for the Bushwhackers, you know who the Bushwhackers are. You know that character, Luke and Butch. You might not know everybody in the WWE, but you will know the Bushwhackers because they're not like a dime a dozen. They are a dime a dozen. If you will. No, they're not a dime a dozen. They are specific. They are some fucking weirdos if you look at them right now. So that's what it is. But TW, again, the reality is in 1994, WWE was, it wasn't popular. It wasn't
treading
popular
water.
It was, that's a good word. It was treading. I didn't stop with the thumbs up, but I
got my arms folded.
Well, maybe your dick is hard. I don't know. But anyway, but TW, let's talk about it. 1994, they were treading water, like you said. So what say you? Because again, it's almost like not desperation, but it's like, if we're not getting the ratings on Raw, we gotta find a way to market our guys. What say you, TW, about that?
It's weird that they would pick the Bushwhackers other than the show that it's on would be geared towards kids. So in that case, you kind of see it, right? But they're the heels. They're funny, but it's I don't see how this would get people to turn on wrestling. Like you almost feel like they should have put, but obviously you got to involve Carl and Urkel, but you almost got to put like the Bushwhackers versus the Rockers so that someone sees it and then I want to watch that for real. But they are, again, as heels on there, I just love that they still called them the Bushwhackers. Like I was waiting for them to call them something else, like the Viking Raiders or something instead of the Bushwhackers.
Where'd that come from? They would not,
because they're the War Raiders again. And all the people that bitched about them being the Viking Raiders, where are they now when they're called the War Raiders?
You couldn't call the Bushwhackers even in 1994 a different name but the Bushwhackers or the Sheep Herders.
Right.
So let's put it this way. Let's put a bow on this, TW, because it's 1994. What team, if it wasn't for the Bushwhackers, who would you put in as a substitute? Because the only team I could think of to fit the mold of what was going on for at least this episode of Reflection Nights was the Head Shrinkers or the Samoan SWAT team. I think they would have been the perfect foil for Carl Winslow and Steve Urkel. Do you have a substitute in hand?
I don't know if they were still there, because that's the problem with 94. Because I would think Demolition, because
no, they weren't.
Demolition would be intimidating, but also people would look at them and go, "Who are those guys?" You know what I mean? Were Road Warriors there in 84? I mean 94?
No, they came back in 92. They left, and then they came back in 97.
Damn. What about the Steiners? They were probably long gone.
They were starting the New Japan tours.
But I mean, when were they? Because they fought the Head Shrinkers. When were they there? 92?
They were there in 93, and 93. Then they left in the beginning of 94.
Yeah, because like my perfect people that I would put there, because one of them would be like kind of the heartthrob, if you will, and the other one would be with the Bushwhackers, where it would be the Heart Foundation. Like you get girls to want to turn in to see Brett with his long black greasy hair, and then Neidhart would be whatever. But I think the Bushwhackers, because there were talking parts, you can't do the Head Shrinkers. You got to do the Bushwhackers was probably the best you could do, if not the Heart Foundation. But by then they're not a thing no more. It's just Brett.
All right. Before we talk about this episode in depth, Reflection Nights, let's talk about the Family Matters. Let's put a bow in this, TW, because again, Family Matters, what once was supposedly focusing on the family, then turned into focusing on Steve Urkel, because he became a cultural icon. He was like the Fonz. He was like the Beaver. And all that. You just said it. You just said those lines that was on a T-shirt and cereals and all that stuff. So, from a personal standpoint, we know that Family Matters, if it stayed the course as a family-driven show, it was not going to last more than maybe 2 seasons, maybe 3.
Right.
So Steve Urkel was a lightning in a bottle that you had to, use until he couldn't be used no more for 8 or 9 seasons. So TW, how lucky was Carl Winslow? How lucky was Harriet to have Steve Urkel on this show?
Very. And then he got dual roles. He was Stefan or whatever he was called. And like they really got some mileage out of it. But it's a beautiful thing, because it's like it's the opposite of what Married with Children did, what Growing Pains did, what Family Ties did, where they were getting a little long in the tooth and they add a fucking brat kid, right? Blossom did it. This, they read the room, and this dude was getting all the heat, or the pub, and they went with it, and you still have everybody else. You
want to talk about read the room? They actually put their youngest child up in the basement, and then she never came down anymore.
Right, and that's because it's funny you say that, because I didn't that girl die in real life? No, she's alive. She did sister. Yeah, she did porn, and then she did drugs, and I thought she's born again. Oh no, she was married to Federline. She had a kid with Federline, Brittany's guy. Oh, that's Moesha. Oh, that girl was on Moesha? Mm-hmm. Oh, not wow. The same girl. So I thought it was, I knew the girl from Fantasy did the porn, but I thought she OD'd. But the older sister is still there, and then there's a little Tricky Ricky. I don't know where he came in at, but he might have been the adding a kid part, right? But all these other shows added these kids, and people just turned them off, Whereas Urkel, you still kept everyone else. And it's funny, because in the beginning, Urkel's the fall guy and Eddie's the straight man, and then it morphed where Eddie was the Robin and Urkel was the Batman, if you will. Like it just changed, but it's still the same guys. It would be like Friday, Ice Cube's the straight man, and what's the other term for straight man? Laugh man. There's a straight man and a laugh man, and Urkel became the main guy, whereas it was Eddie at first. And then what's the buddy's name with the high top fade? Waldo. He was like, basically he got bumped for Urkel, because he was like Urkel until Urkel blew up. But it was just, but you never, other than that other kid that just got disappeared, they all were still every episode. The mother, the father, the grandma that she did pass away, 2002. But they all still were part of it. So really all you did was shuffle around who got more lines or whatever. But like you said, they had the wherewithal to recognize this dude's the star. Just like that stupid dinosaur show. It was John Goodman was probably who they were banking on. but the little baby that said "not the mama" became all the merch, and then the Mandalorian, it's fucking Baby Yoda, became all the merch. You just gotta have your finger on the pulse to see what it is that people like about it.
You got to read the room. And with that being said, let's talk about this episode a little bit in depth, TW. And of course, this revolves not primarily on the Bushwhackers. This revolves around Carl Winslow being acquaintances with one of these particular wrestlers, because he said, because while Eddie and Waldo were, reading a wrestling magazine, maybe Pro Wrestling Illustrated, maybe Inside Wrestling, I don't know. They read it Aftermag. I don't know which one, because they kept it close to the vessel. But anyway, neither here nor there. But they were reading the wrestling magazines, and they were honed in on the Psycho Twins. And Carl Winslow just came out of nowhere saying, "I know that dude right there. That's my band from high school, Joe Schmo. We were high school wrestling partners." All that stuff. So TW, what say you? Again, it's a very simplistic explanation. You and I can get it, and comedy ensues.
It's simple. It's just simple, and you obviously have to speed stuff up a little bit because it's a 22-minute episode, but they fast tracked as soon as the other guy saw Carl. He was popping for it and jumped out of the ring and hugged him. And at first I thought, how would he? These dudes are in their 40s. How, if he hasn't seen him since high school? You're talking 4 years ago, but they had history, and so as soon as they fast tracked that, Lyle started telling stories about how they dated these girls and did all this stuff. And it made sense. And here's a little fun fact for you. Do you know who the little skinny Psycho Twin, do you know who that was?
Who was that?
Turbo from Breaking 2, Electric Boogaloo, and Breaking 1. Shrimp.
Oh.
Huh?
That's not Boogaloo Shrimp, but yeah, I know you're saying
it's
that's
Boogaloo
Turbo.
Shrimp. Look it up.
Holy shit! It must be the mask. The mask was just.
And it's funny you say that because like my buddy, he's here. He came over to hang out. I haven't seen him in a while. I put the show back on because he walked in on another episode of Family Matters playing. He goes, "This is your podcast?" I go, "Watch." And I played it back. As soon as he saw Carl and Urkel standing next to those guys, he goes, "I can already tell you they're going to switch and become them." I go, "Yep." And the funny thing is Urkel looked like that dude when he put the stupid mask on, which is funny because it wasn't a mask at all. It was just like straps of a T-shirt that were cut up.
Well, technically, Reflectionites, the mask really looked like BDSM mask.
Right.
It looked like some fucking.
Shane Taylor looked weird in his for sure.
It ain't Shane Taylor, man. Goddamn, Shane Taylor was 8 years old by then. But anyway,
he's older, man. There
was a little faux pas in this episode, TW, because again, it's kind of funny because Carl Winslow uses his power, the perks of being a sergeant, a captain of the Chicago PD, to get into the WrestleRama arena, if you will, Reflectionites. He didn't pay for no tickets and all that stuff. And of course, his best friend from high school is gonna give him front row seats and all that stuff. But when Carl Winslow brings his son Eddie, when Eddie brings his best friend in the world, Waldo, somebody comes in behind that those three don't want, and that's Steve Urkel. But Steve Urkel didn't come alone. He was coming with a formula. So TW, get into that. Again,
Sleepy juice.
It was called snooze juice. But TW, the funny thing is this. He like ingratiates himself into a father-son gathering, quality time and all that stuff. You know that there's going to be refreshments at the fucking WrestleRama arena. Why the hell are you going to bring snooze juice?
Because it's the Manchurian's gun or whatever, Chekhin's rifle, whatever they call the shit. You knew it was going to come into play. But the best part is, first of all, when he shows up, he opens the door and slams Carl in the face and then tells him, "You shouldn't stand behind doors," because they were trying to leave. And second, I love how Carl says to him, "We all love here and stay and be annoyed by you, but we're not, and we're leaving." And they laugh, and he went with them. So it was very Married with Children, Al Bundy talking to Marcy Darcy, and that was Carl talking to Urkel. And it's just funny, and like you said, it's easy, it's simple, it's not complicated. It's just a sitcom that works.
Yeah, it is. But it's funny. The snooze juice did its work on the Psycho Twins because they drank it like it was nothing. They drank it like it was water. They were good for a minute, And then Steve Urkel said there's a side effect to the snooze juice. You fall asleep, you don't wake up for about 3 days or some shit like that and all that stuff. So, but there's a quandary because the main event of WrestleRama has got to go on, and that is the Psycho Twins were already, was it the Worldwide Wrestling Association Tag Team Champions or something like that? But anyway, neither here nor there. That's legit.
They just said they were the best tag team in the world. I don't remember seeing any belts.
No, but they were champions. They didn't have belts. They didn't bring the belts to the ring, but they were supposed to be tag team champions. But they were supposed to be the tag team champions going up against either the number one contenders or, like you said, the best tag team against the best tag team, the Bushwhackers. And again, TW, the funny thing is we know the history of the Bushwhackers, at least the WWE history. They are cute and cuddly. They're cute and cuddly teddy bears for the kids. Kids love when they lick their heads. I didn't like it. I never wanted it, but I'm just saying I saw it.
Go lower.
Shut the hell up. No, the hell I do not. You look, put some hair on TW right now. He does look like Butch. You do look like Butch a little bit. But
Butch,
anyway.
He's a nice guy. He's one of my favorite people I've ever worked.
But we know the history of the Bushwhackers as cute and cuddly teddy bears that if you kind of nudge them, they will become animalistic. They will become all that stuff. But TW,
they will become sheep herders.
Yeah, they will become sheep herders. But TW, they were not booked that way for Family Matters. They were booked as the bad guys. What say you? Why did they go that route?
Because you can't have. Well, I mean, you know what's funny? You can because they were under hoods. But having Carl and Urkel, it almost comes off as a heel versus heel match.
Right. That's the fight. And their names were the Psycho Twins, so they should be the heels, and the Bushwhackers could be the baby faces and all that stuff.
But the Bushwhackers, the spots they ran were comedy spots, and the crowd popped like they would if it was a comedy spot. But it felt like heel versus heel. But you got to have Urkel and Carl be the babies. You can't for the sitcoms purpose. For the sitcom purposes, for that fan base, yes, we know that they're going into it. Well, the reason they went into the Reflections is because the real Psycho Twins drank the snooze juice and they were falling asleep in the locker room. So the promoter, Eddie LaBelle, like TW would say. No, Eddie LaBelle was the ref. The promoter was that Vince McMahon looking dude.
Oh, I can't tell. They all look alike. But anyway, they were about to sue. The promoter was about to sue Carl Winslow and Steve Urkel for everything they were worth until Carl and Steve had no choice but to don the Psycho Twins outfits. And TW, do you remember how they came in to the arena?
Hannibal Lecter style with the nurses.
See, and that's another funny thing because again, that is heelish, but the nurses were badass. They look
Or it's
good.
Beauty and the Beast.
That is also true.
Yeah.
But
then it gets Pornhub, and they tell them that if you guys win, we're going to give you a massage or whatever they said. And they're like, and break out of straitjackets.
TW, see, this is wrestling. It doesn't make sense to us. We understand what the Psycho Twins' character is about, but the Family Matters audience does not understand what's going on here. Because again, the Bushwhackers, even though you can hear in the background, it was booze. There was booze reflection nights. I kid you not. But they were doing their babyface shit. They looked for a fan. It was a woman, and they licked the shit out of her. You knew that Butch wanted to lick lower, like TW said. He wanted to lick lower for the woman because the woman was like 20 years old with some big
settled
titties.
for you.
I wasn't there, but you was there. Oh. You and Shane Taylor were there for some strange reason. But anyway,
that was Gene LaBelle.
I can't tell you all apart. I can't tell you all apart. But anyway, let's get into the crust of this episode, and that is the match between the Psycho Twins and the Bushwhackers. And TW, this is again the quandary of suspending disbelief, if you will, because again, you and I know that wrestling's predetermined. You and I know that these four gentlemen in real life of wrestling would be in the back and kind of like calling the spots.
Yeah.
In this episode, since Carl and Steve were last-minute substitutions, last-minute replacements, they don't know the spots. So what say you, TW? How did they make this match work in your humble opinion?
I like two things. One, I like that they explained why it was a work in that match, but still protected kayfabe by not saying, "Oh no, they're in on it." You know what I mean? Because that's what you would expect. Urkel was scared. Carl goes, "No. Remember, he told us he smartened him up and told him we weren't wrestlers, so they're going to make us look good." Blah 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 blah. Then the actual match was just a calamity of error, and it was just comedy. Like it was Abbott and Costello, Three Stooges. What do you call that? Physical comedy where they ran into each other. Everything was accidental. But the one thing I did notice is both Urkel and Carl apparently became the master of the fucking spinning toe hold. And I think Gene LaBelle taught him it.
You think Gene LaBelle taught him the spinning toe hold move?
Yeah, because I think the LaBelle lock is taking the leg.
Oh, okay. That's actually quite a...
Because I thought they were going for the figure four, but they just held the leg, and that's the LaBelle lock.
That is true. No, you are right. I do, because within the match, Reflection Nights and TW can attest to this, because again, Carl and Steve are playing kind of scared because they don't know what's going on, and of course the Bushwhackers, they think they're gonna kill them and all that stuff. But Carl and Steve kind of hold their own, if you will, Reflection Nights. They do the basic moves, the headlocks, the arm bars, the Irish whips, and all that stuff. So TW,
a hip toss.
Well, that too. And of course, when Carl and Steve are kind of winning the match, they play to the crowd. They understand what they're supposed to do, because not only they're substituting the Psycho Twins, but in Carl's case, he knows what the Psycho Twins are about to a degree. He knows from reading the aftermags from his son Eddie Winslow and all that stuff. So, but within this match, TW, there was a pivotal point for all four combustible elements. Do you remember that pivotal point?
Luke started shooting the shit with Urkel in the corner. "Hey, buddy, what do you guys do for a living?" And Urkel spilled the beans and told them that Carl was a cop, and then they turned the work into a shoot.
It is funny because, again, we don't know the history of the Bushwhackers and cops. We don't know if they were, accosted. We don't know how many traffic stops that they have to go through on a daily basis, especially when I'm talking about Family Matters universe. Now, I'm not talking about in real life. But in Family Matters universe, they just don't like cops. They don't like cops for various reasons. And once he said cop, it triggered the Bushwhackers and all hell broke loose. So, TW, in your humble opinion for this episode, was this a 5-star classic, or did this become a clusterfuck?
They did everything right. There's a dusty finish. They throw Urkel into the crowd. Waldo and Eddie storm the ring. Waldo grabs Steven in a headlock, Urkel, and then the crowd starts rioting. And next you know, they're back home, and they're wearing neck braces and casts, and the wife and and there's also Ricky. The whole subplot is he lied to the teacher about his homework being stolen by an eagle that flew it to Germany. And then when he tells him, I'm watching Uncle Carl and Urkel in the Psycho Twins match, and the mom thinks that he's lying and then realizes he isn't, so they start watching it. So now when they get home, instead of nursing them back to health, the mom did what sitcom moms do, made fun of them for being in the predicament to begin with.
Absolutely. And again, this is a very quick episode, Reflection. It's just 22 minutes with commercials, of course, and all that stuff. So let's put a bow in this and let's talk about, the Psycho Twins for a minute, TW.
Shane Taylor and Boogaloo Shrimp. Okay,
I'll say it. Shane Taylor and Boogaloo Shrimp. All right, whatever. But we know it's Carl and Steve Urkel. And again, for all this stuff, and it's not about the episode, TW, but again, when we do these like sitcoms where the comedy foils and all that stuff, go one-on-one with a wrestler. The wrestler takes care of the stars and all that stuff. So TW, what grade would you give Steve and Carl for holding their own, and of course the Bushwhackers taking care of them and all that stuff?
I loved it, man. I think that they probably had real wrestlers in there, especially on the back toss or the backdrop that Carl took.
Well, you said Shane Taylor's there, so Shane Taylor was the stunt double.
Shane Taylor can't take a backdrop, but listen, he was. They were there, and
that is fucked up.
Gravity is why he can't take a backdrop. He might get slammed off the top rope, but don't be the guy underneath him. But anyway,
Shane Taylor's a Reflection Night. I'm going to tell him. I'm going to tell him you said that.
Tell him. We got into it on Twitter anyway. So, At the end of the day, this is good. It's, again, I can't say it enough. And I'm telling you, the reason I bring up the Love Boat is watch it. The Love Boat has all the stars from when we were kids, sometimes before they were stars on all these episodes, because it starts in 77 and these are guys we know from the 80s. And it's just fun, man. Nobody's getting canceled. No one's getting lectured. It's just telling. Basically, the gist at the end of the day is to enjoy life. And when I watch the Family Matters show, I enjoy this show. It's an escape from this reality of all this hate that we got going on. But you know what the best escape from all this hate is? Logging on Facebook and going out into the world and seeing everybody gets along in real life. That's what you got to do. And that's what this show did. The Bushwhackers, they took care of them. Even after they found out they were cops, they probably made amends.
I must ask you this question because every time I give you something to watch, especially movies or episodes like this, how many times did you fall asleep?
Once is because that Kamala went live and I paused it and put that on and I fell asleep watching Kamala.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, so Family Matters, you watched it fully without falling asleep. Oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness for that. And with that being said, we close on this quick edition of the PWR Movies episode here at the PWR Podcast at Hameen Media Group at podbean.com. There's nothing really left to say. Reflection. Again, this is an American comedy classic. This is an iconic figure in Steve Urkel, an iconic figure in Carl Winslow and all that stuff. I don't care that Steve Urkel in real life fucked Carl Winslow in the ass at the Diddy parties. It doesn't matter to me.
How do you know that?
They've been saying this on fucking social. This is why like you said, social media is a parameter.
I think I knew that Carl was gay in real life.
Who cares? Who the hell cares?
But Steven is too. Urkel is too.
Again, do you believe social media? They say that they were at the Diddy parties and he was giving it to Carl in the ass. But anyway, I don't care as long as I laughed on Family Matters Friday nights. That's all that matters to me. I will watch Cosby Show knowing what he did. I will watch Cosby Show. I know what he did. I don't care what he did. I still listen to R. Kelly music.
Cliff Huxtable didn't do it. Bill Cosby did it.
That's a good way to look at things. But anyway, we close on this PWR Movies edition. And TW, next week, I think, again, you probably might not remember this, but you asked me to do an episode. Because you said, we want to do an episodic. You wanted to talk about a pay-per-view. So TW, the floor is yours. Do you remember the pay-per-view that you want to do that we will do next week here on the PWR podcast?
The night Jericho beat them all to unify.
Well, the wrong titles, but I get what you're saying. I forget what.
Oh, I got Intercontinental US. That would be a legit unification match right there.
Was it Bad Blood?
You said that it was Bad Blood. Backlash. No, the one before WrestleMania. You said.
Well, we will find it. I don't remember.
Backlash is usually after WrestleMania, so it's the one before WrestleMania. Payback? No, Payback. Payback is after WrestleMania.
Well, we don't remember the legit name Reflectionites, but it was the pay-per-view where Chris Jericho unified the titles and beat The Rock and Steve Austin on the same night. So with that being said, TW, give out those socials so we can get out of here.
All right. The Pro Wrestling Coalition sponsors us at the PWC Network at podbean.com/probation. Not really. And then the Hameen Media Group at podbean.com, as well as HMG at channelattitude.com. You can get us on X at the PW Reflection. Big Ray is on everything, but this week, the next level is not on Wednesday. It's on Thursday, which means it'll be tomorrow, which means you're probably not going to know that after it had already happened by the time you hear me say this. But you can find him on all socials at Big Ray Hernandez. You can find me on Instagram and on X at TommyWonder19. And also Threads. And then Snapchat is Number Wonder, Facebook.com/Tommy Wonder, TikTok and the other X is at the Tommy Wonder. And then Big Vito and Noel can be found at Big Vito Brand on TikTok. And you can catch the early release of this show at Big Ray Hernandez on X with Elon.
And you can follow me on the X at PWSPROF. That's PWSProf. And I don't know if this is going to get uploaded by A-Track Brown, the slowest motherfucker out there. He owes me about 4 episodes anyway, but
he's upset today, so give him some slack.
Again, neither here nor there. Like I said, I'm an independent. I don't give a fuck. I just watch people. But anyway, It will probably be on the PWSL networks. Follow my brother in arms, A-Track Brown, the king of the reactions. He probably might have a reaction for the concession speech, the victory speech, and all that stuff. So, I'm not saying he might do it, but you never know, TW. You never know. But follow him.
Never know.
But you follow him at it. The number 8 TRA.
Oh, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
right before she told everyone to go home last night, do you know what song was playing at Kamala's headquarters? Mo Money, Mo Problems. They were playing Diddy at her rally.
Hey, like you said, I can listen to.
Then they followed that up with "Cool It Now" by New Edition, so I was back in.
Oh, that's good too. But I'll still listen to Diddy. Don't bother me. I ain't get no baby oil on me. But anyway, you can follow. Shut up. You can follow Billy Ray Valentine in the Wednesday locker room at Obi-Wan You Know Me. And with that being said, again, next week we will do episodic episode the night Chris Jericho unified those titles and beat The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin on the same night. And with that being said, I'm the professor. That's Mr. Wonderful, Dum Dum Doodle Idiot Zone, the Iron Stomach One, and the undisputed, undeniable, universal heavyweight champion of the world. Tommy Wonder saying good night, and we'll see you next time here at the PWR Podcast at the Hami Media Group at podbean.com. Peace. I'm not getting that fireworks. I'm not getting it.